Hi everyone, Steve Gage here, NASM certified personal trainer and co-owner of Engage Fitness. Today I'm going to go over some quick and easy bicep movements to focus on strength. So if you're at the gym or at home and just finding that your bicep strength is not really growing, you're not getting any stronger, you're doing the work, you're just not really seeing any strength results. So I'm going to show you a few exercises and techniques to kind of help build up that bicep strength. So we're going to start with first the basic bicep movement is the bicep curl. So you're grabbing the dumbbells in your hands. We're going to start with palms forward, making sure that the wrist is staying in line with the elbow. And what that's going to do is it's going to focus on the overall bicep development, because depending on what angle we have the hand away from the elbow, that's going to affect what part of the bicep. Because again, bicep, there's two different muscles in that muscle group there, the bicep. So what we're going to do is just bring that hand up to the shoulder, making sure the elbows stay by the sides, and just bringing that elbow by the side and the hand is coming towards the shoulder and slowly lower. We don't want to do any swinging motion. We're not using momentum to get the dumbbell up. If you're using momentum, usually the weight's too heavy. And again, you have to check that ego at the door sometimes and just use lighter weight if you want to focus on that bicep muscle exactly. So again, just bringing that hand up to the shoulder, really feeling that contraction, and then lowering the dumbbell back down. So if you're really focusing on strength, what you can do is increase the time under tension or the resistance for the bicep. So essentially, instead of doing the quick 1 second up and down, we could do the bicep curl and try to count to 4 seconds on the way down. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And what that does is, since it loads the muscle a lot more, it creates more of those little micro tears in the muscle and increases the strength. As opposed to just doing that more explosive movement and quick, we're loading it under tension for those 3 extra seconds. We're exhaling on the curl and then lowering, inhale on the way down. Really making sure we're feeling it in the bicep. We're not swinging again. Elbows are right by the sides. Exhale on the curl. Maybe get an extra breath because we're going slow. And then up, counting to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We also want to make sure that our shoulders are in the correct position as well. We want to make sure they're not rounding forward and we're curling this way. We want to get those shoulder blades squeezed back and down, almost like you're trying to put those shoulder blades in your back pocket if you have pockets. Because that sets the shoulder up in a more comfortable and stable position and not leaning forward, and it gets us in a better posture. So our next motion is going to be called the hammer curl. So it's called a hammer curl because the way you're holding the dumbbells, essentially you're holding with the palms facing in, just like you would a hammer. And we can do the similar motion as the regular bicep curl. This is going to focus more on the bicep brachialis, which is underneath the bicep and leads down to the top of the forearm here. Kind of like that joining point between the two arm bones. And we're just going to bring, again, elbows by the side, keeping the palms facing in the entire time. And you're just going to bring that forearm up to the shoulder and then lowering it down. That's the motion. All the joint motion is in the elbow. We're not going to be swinging the arm up, getting that momentum. We want to have all the work being done in that bicep. So again, we're just bringing that hand up to the shoulder, slowly lowering back down. Almost imagine those elbows are glued to the sides. They're not able to move around. The only part that's moving is the forearm. And just bringing that hand to the dumbbell to the shoulder and then slowly lowering it back down. And again, if your focus is strength, up and then count 1, 2, 3, 4. Really loading that bicep under tension. 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, we want to make sure the elbows are by the sides. They're not resting on the hips or on the sides, because then our shoulders have a tendency to round forward. So we want to keep those shoulder blades back and down. Elbows glued to the side. Up. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we want to focus on 1 second to the top and then 4 seconds holding, really focusing on the way down. Again, we're not swinging the weight, we want to use that bicep to get that dumbbell to the shoulder, because that's the function of the bicep, is they call it elbow flexion, because you're flexing the elbow forward and letting it go back down. It's bringing the elbow, the two arm bones together. That's the function of the bicep. That's why we do the bicep curl, because essentially it's loading that joint movement. So next we're going to focus on another bicep movement you can do individually, so one arm at a time. And you can do this either sitting at your dinner table, your couch, anytime you're sitting down and you want to get a little bit of more muscle activation in your day. So we're sitting down, and with this we're going to have a slight lean in, but again, we want to make sure we get that small core contraction, keeping that spine neutral. So with this, we're lowering the dumbbell just to where we get the elbow right against the thigh. That's going to be our anchor point. And just like any other bicep movement, we're not swinging the arm. The elbow stays locked in that position, and we're just moving the forearm. So this is called a concentration curl, because you're literally, everything else is primarily shut off except for the core, and we're just focusing on just the bicep. So with this, we're starting with the palms facing to the opposite side, and we're just curling that dumbbell up. And as you curl, try to slightly rotate outward, and you're going to get that really good contraction at the top of the bicep. So as you're lowering down, again, making sure that elbow is not sliding around anywhere. Want to get that thing locked into the inside of your thigh. And just raising that dumbbell up and then getting that slight, you're almost like you're rotating outward as you come to the top, and then right back down. Same thing with the breathing. Exhale out, inhale on the way down. Really focusing on putting your mind in that bicep and making sure you're using the right muscle groups to move that dumbbell. And with this position, also if you have any lower back tension such as sciatica or any kind of nerve pain, anytime you feel any of that nerve aggravation, just sit back up, relax, take a couple of seconds. You might need to just stand up a little taller. So the modification we can take is instead of coming to the inside of the thigh, we can use the top of our thigh as that resting point. We just want to make sure we can get to the point where we get full range of motion. We're not doing partial reps. We want to get full range of motion, making sure we're working the top of the bottom of the muscle as well as the top. So again, modification, if you have a little bit of lower back pain and you're unable to get into this shape, resting that elbow right on top of the leg and lowering it, getting full stretch and then full contraction, reach to the top, getting that slight rotation, rotating the wrist out. Again, you're going to feel that right at the top of the bicep as you come to the top. So lowering it back down, curling that wrist out, inhale on the way down. And again, if you're focusing primarily on strength, what we can do is lower the muscle up a little more and decrease how fast we do the motion. So we're lowering it back down, and as we come up, curl, and now we're going to count to 4 seconds on the way down. Slow. 1, 2, 3, 4. Try to make your seconds really seconds, not 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You want actual Mississippi seconds. So 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi. Because again, the longer that muscle is under tension, the more it breaks down those fibers and increases the strength. And again, making sure we're not using the shoulder or any other body part to move that weight. Everything else is locked in, and we're just moving the forearm, trying to get it to the top of the shoulder. Because really, when you get that arm to the top of the shoulder, that's when you feel that peak contraction and works the bicep at its most, at its highest point. And again, you can do a bunch of these exercises seating as well. So again, if you're having ankle problems or a knee discomfort that day and you need to really sit more for the day, we can do a lot of these exercises sitting as well. So again, we'll do the hammer curl, and that's sitting modification where we're sitting down, feet are flat, core is tight because you want to keep that spine neutral. Not saying you have to Brace to the point where you feel your abs are gonna, explode. You want just that slight turn on, and then we're just gonna keep the shoulders back and down, and bring in those hammer curl, bringing that dumbbell to the top of the shoulder. Again, making sure that we're not swinging the dumbbells up, keeping those elbows by our sides, and just curling up. Just moving the forearm to the top and then back down. And same principle, if you're focusing a little more on strength, just slow it down. Try to get 4 seconds in that motion. 2, 3, 4. Up for 1, down for 4. And again, making sure you're not moving the arms around, the shoulders are back and down, getting that shoulder in that stable shape. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we'll switch to the regular bicep curl, traditional, where the palms are facing forward. And another little tip trick is you can also try not using, I would suggest starting to lighter weight with these because you're going to use less grip. So try not using the thumb. So normally we grab the weights like this. We're going to switch and bring the thumb right next to the other fingers. And what that does is it activates a lot more bicep movement than the traditional grip. Because with the traditional grip, we sometimes have a tendency to use the wrist at the top of the motion. We don't get that full curl at the top. So with this, you kind of have to use that bicep and keep that wrist straight. So palms are facing forward, thumbs are tucked behind the weight, and we're good control through the whole motion. Again, if you have to swing the weights up, the weights are too heavy. You want to have good control and really good muscle activation through the whole exercise. Again, you'll feel the difference not using that thumb. We just want to make sure that, again, we're not getting into that dumping of the wrist, because then some chances are, if your grip's not great, that dumbbell's just going to fall right out. So then you have to keep that wrist straight. And again, if your wrist is not able to hold that position straight all the way up, then I would suggest going back to the thumb. One is not better than the other. I just personally feel that you get more bicep activation not using the thumb. And again, with all these exercises, you can also take them one arm at a time. So you do, say you're doing 12 reps of traditional bicep curl, you can just do 12 reps on one arm, and then rest this arm, and then start the other 12 on that arm. And what that does is it kind of lets you know which side is stronger or weaker, because more times than not, when we're doing a two-handed or a two-legged movement, one of those is usually stronger than the other, and it's compensating for the other's weakness. So this way, if you do one at a time, you get to see which one's stronger, and that side needs a little more TLC. Well, I hope these tips and exercise tricks were helpful for you guys in increasing your bicep strength. Any other questions, feel free to let me know. Have a good day, guys. Take care.